Oh, I wasn't supposed to do that.
For those of you who don't know, my name is Charlie, and almost 2 years ago, I bought a decommissioned Metro bus from Akron, Ohio, that I now call home. Since then, I've brought along my girlfriend, Abby, and my 2 dogs, Rocky and Jasper, to join me on our mission to build our tiny home on wheels and experience our life on the road. In the last episode, I introduced you to Abby as we broke down our plans for the future and how we were going to build out the interior. So now, after a 4-month hiatus, we explore the events that transpired in the first few weeks of bus life. Hello and welcome back to the Bus from Akron channel. I did want to interrupt really quick without ruining anything. For those of you that have stayed caught up with us, I know I've been incredibly inconsistent with my posting. It's been far too long, and for that, I apologize. That is something I want to change about the channel and be able to offer more consistent posts. It may be a small step, but we are now almost at 20 subscribers, and that means the absolute world to me. So for those of you that have stuck it out with us, or even possibly finding us for the first time, I did want to say thank you for checking us out now. We do have so much to show you guys, and I cannot wait to get you caught up, starting all the way back in February when Jasper and I moved in day one. That first day was slow for Jasper and I. He had spent some time getting acclimated to the new surroundings, and I had gotten straight to work clearing out some of the old stuff inside the bus to make room for all the framework we'll be bringing in the coming days. I cut up some 2x4s to get the shape we needed for the wall, to secure that in place, and then marvel in the sight of having that first wall in the bus. Day 2, I continued where I was, cutting off more pieces for that second wall. Then, just like in previous episodes, going through the holes in the bus to secure the foundation of the wall. And after making sure everything was straight and level, we had everything we need for a shape of a bathroom. I did get a little carried away with some extra framework coming off the end for some storage. I just wanted to get it out of the way while I was already building the shape of everything. Then I picked up Rocky after he'd spent a couple weeks there with Abby at the house. But today was a big day for me. It was time to cut a hole in the counter for our sink. I started doing some math, making sure I did everything correct and all the angles were there. And, well, it'd be easier if I just showed you how it went. Obviously, I've got an overhang off the edge of the counter, so I've got to account for that. It's 1.25 inches, as well as 3/4 inch for the wood of the cabinet, which gives me 2 inches to cut into, and then 1 inch in the back because it is 3 inches off of what we had. The sink is 22 inches, and the counter is 25 inches long. So I've got 1 in the back and then 2 in the front to work with. And then the sides, we've got some play, and we'll be able to drop it down. The tricky part is making sure everything's straight. I'm sure this won't cause too many problems. I've got to use a homemade face mask because I've got a theory that I am sick because I've kicked up too much of this sawdust into the bus without fully getting it all out of here in time. Just a theory. Now it's time to cut into my $500 countertop and hope I don't mess up. Sink is 22 inches. She'll kill me off right there. Wow. We're gonna call this and see what that looks like. All right, so after a brief intermission and a change of t-shirt, I'm gonna put the last cut in. My phone died, so I just wanna make sure I can stick around for the moment of truth. But let's get this sucker done with. I could just measure it first to see if it'll fit. But I'm so confident that it's gonna fit. Wow. Wow. I wasn't supposed to do that. Oh, I messed up big time. What was supposed to be an afternoon project became an entire weekend of going to Lowe's and redoing the butcher's block. However, with the chaos settling, Abby and I had weighed our options and came up with 3 big changes we wanted to incorporate before we got too far into the bus build and couldn't change it later. The first 2 changes that we considered were cutting the counter from 8 to 6 feet long and removing that first cabinet to give ourselves access from the side door to potentially have a ramp to let the dogs in and out with and have more access to the bus. So now with having to buy a new countertop, it only solidified our plans of opening up the doorway. But the clock was ticking on me and I didn't have time to waste restarting projects before Abby got here. I'd finished my cuts, making sure everything was lined up, doing the right cuts this time, and double checking the sink would fit before getting everything settled inside. And for those of you curious, what I did wrong was I cut too far backwards right here and didn't save myself enough space to have the sink sit properly and for the hoses to fit through. But I quickly went over the block just like I did in episode 3, first sanding it down with a 180 grit sanding sponge, and then just going over with the wet paper towel. This will make sure to open up some of the wood pores to make sure the stain has a good base to get into. I had the same stain from the first time, so with just a couple of coats and a few hours of letting it dry, everything was finished. I had sealed it off with some polyurethane, and we were ready for our sink. It turned out so great, and I was so excited for it, I forgot to record myself putting it in the sink. I set it down, caulked it in place, and we were ready for the drain. And with that drain comes the bucket, which catches all that gray water coming down, which does require a little bit of extra work. I had to use a nice little trick of melting the plastic around so I can stick that drain tube through and have a perfect seal to keep all the smells in that bucket and out of our home. After a couple seconds of melting it on the flame, I was able to stick it perfectly through. Lastly was some plumber's putty to seal the holes around the drain, and we were all set to screw everything in place and put our sink together. So with a quick test with some water, we can confirm the sink is sealed and ready to go. However, even with the sink problem solved, I still had to get back to the bathroom. I had only a few more days before Abby arrived. Besides building a couple shelves to hold my food, I had no time to spare and needed to finish before she got here. Oh, and that third change was to move the bathroom towards the middle of the bus and swap it with where we had the storage. With this 2x4 in place, I need to put one more here just at the edge of the window so we can save room to make the window frame. And then we'll have this 8-inch wall right here to fill in the rest. And that will be one side of the wall for the bathroom. We'll do the same thing on this end. So all corners have another 2x4 to meet and everything can lay flush in here in the bathroom so we can put the final walls in there as well as the flooring. It's all sort of like a puzzle to have support beams going up as well as making sure they are at the right angle. The bathroom floor will also be raised 1.5 inches just in case for insulation, possibly putting heated floors in the future. We can't decide if we're going to match it to the floor in the rest of the bus, which is why I know some of you are curious why we're doing the floor so late in the process. It's to allow us to be able to do these kinds of things and make changes to the bathroom floor. The last few things I needed before Abby's arrival was making sure to put some kind of walls up to have the bathroom at least in a functional state. After putting in some final touches with some cool door hinges and a locking mechanism, the bathroom was fit for a queen. We just needed one last thing. Now with the arrival of Abby also means the arrival of all the new things that we bought in preparations for bus life, meaning I had to put the bathroom on pause and get this bed out so we can fit the new one. Because of the sink situation, I did not finish the task I had in mind, which is super disappointing, but it allows me to catch a break now that she's living in the bus with us full time. Everything's set up the way we want it to have a sustainable life in here until we can get a toilet in this makeshift bathroom and then finish the bathroom. We're going to do plumbing for the sink here soon. Once we get power, everything will be running and we'll be in a great spot. We did, of course, get a sink and then all new pots and pans to go with it, using them all and dirtying them in the first couple of nights. And as you can see, we have some flooring down. I've got footage of me putting down the subflooring and then laying down this floor. It didn't quite turn out the way I wanted it. I know it looks like it matches in camera, but it does not match quite. So we're gonna have to redo the flooring. So now with the king sized out and the queen size bed in, we give ourselves 16 inches to work with, which allows us to bring this back and have more space on this end for storage and still have enough bed for 2 dogs and 2 people. Waking up now just in the middle of the night. normal rainstorm, nothing that the bus can't handle. But it seems like this rainstorm has gotten to the bus. We've got a leak. Luckily, we slowed it enough for now. Try to get this sealed up as much as I can, and then we'll regroup in the morning and see what we're looking at then. Looking at it the next morning, it's very obvious it's the buds coming down from the tree, causing the water to pool and flood into the door. And since brushing it off, we haven't had this issue. So besides needing a good scrub, I consider this crisis averted. Now with all that stuff out of the way and Abby's very patient waiting, we can talk about the new and exciting additions to the bus. So to cap off our little rainy weekend we had, I've got incredibly exciting news. Well, exciting for us. This may be incredibly mundane to others. However, we are super excited about this, so I'm going to go ahead and bust this open and show you guys. All right. So here she is. You may have recognized this toilet from your favorite TikTok or YouTube vlogger. We now have one of our own.
Sponsored by
With of course the addition of the Bluetti AC180, which is an 1800 watt power bank that will allow us to charge our phones and batteries while we're in the bus. It works surprisingly well and holds a whole bunch of power, so we can charge it at my mom's every so often. This isn't our permanent power source, but it allows us to do what we need now and have it for emergencies in the future. Now for the final and one of my favorite additions to the bus is the dog's new friends. First being the cows, who didn't seem very fond of Rocky or staying in the neighbor's fence. And then the vultures, who the dogs were really curious about at first and always kept an eye on, to the point where I thought they could be friends, until it turns out they weren't that close to friends. Everyone's okay and the dogs learn to give them space, but it's been great to watch the dogs grow and experience nature together. Which does now bring us back to the present day, and if you've made it this far, I wanted to go ahead and thank you again for supporting us on our progress in this bus build. I know it doesn't seem like much because nothing is in its final form. However, the progress we did make has helped us out a ton and made the bus quite livable throughout this summer. Especially with us having jobs and the dogs being here all day, that is the most important part. We do obviously have the AC unit that runs all day long from an extension cord we ran off the house. And besides still needing to go to the store for gallons of water, we have managed quite well on the bus. We do have some big plans for the future that we cannot wait to share with you guys. Obviously starting with posting more consistently, as well as having more entertaining content to provide to anyone interested in watching. It has been a major adjustment for bus life, building and filming everything. So ultimately I appreciate the patience you guys have to keep up with us, even though the channel is on the smaller side. It has been my passion to live this lifestyle and have this opportunity. It has saved me a whole bunch of phone storage to be able to post it on YouTube, and it's been nothing but a privilege to have somewhere to put my creations out there and have people watching. It really does mean a great deal to me, so thank you for everybody out there, and we'll see you in the next one. Today I learned vultures can sit like ducks.